Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a stewardship moment for October 4th. In August, Jeff and I put in a new berm in our backyard, a new redbud tree, some flowering pollinator plants, a decorative rock, some grasses, and I transplanted 5 pink sedum plants. As I was placing the last of the 5 sedums in the berm, a single dragonfly landed on the leaf of the plant right in front of me. I must have sat there for several minutes just watching that beautiful dragonfly resting on this leaf. I even took a photo of it to remember it before it blew away. Its eyes were watching me. Its wings were transparent, thin like plastic film. It was latched onto the leaf, even with the wind blowing. And then it was gone. Sometimes it is the smallest of things that takes our breath away. When Jeff and I walked into the doors of Vine, we felt a welcoming feeling. Smiles, friendly greetings, gathering of people, and openness extended to all. It was the smallest of things that made such an impact on us. As we grew to love this congregation, we found Vine saw the world in a broader sense, helping our community through giving to local food banks, helping serve those at the city mission, providing clothing for children at schools in our city, providing monetary aid to cities beyond ours that were in crisis, working towards sustainable ways to protect our earth. Vine loves God's creation. We learn about it, we nurture it, we grow as a congregation to share what we learn with others. God calls us to keep this planet and all things in and on it central in our lives because it truly breathes life into all of us. Vine's congregation has answered that call to love creation and continues to look ahead to improve it for the next generations. Isaiah 58, verse 11 says, "You will be like a watered garden, like a flowering spring, whose waters never run dry." Vine is that flowering spring. Vine is a witness to issues of equality for all, environmental concerns, and justice issues in our city, state, and world, so that others may see our love of God and know that we are here for those searching for a welcoming and spiritual place to call home. Let's continue our ministry in all the ways that we can. Jeff and I will make a personal pledge to Vine, continuing to grow, new and vibrant, as part of God's love of creation. We hope you will join us in pledging to our congregation this fall. With your support, our church shares God's love. Have a good day.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Megan Huneman, and I'm going to share the stewardship moment for today. This is an important campaign as we need to secure pledges in order to sustain the future of Vine Church. Why do I want to contribute to the future of Vine even though times are trying? Love. Love is the reason we go forward, and I'm specifically going to talk about Vine's love of children. When my husband Thad and I started visiting Vine a bit more than 10 years ago, it was because of the fantastic memories he had as a child and youth growing up in Vine Church. His love brought us to Vine, and the community of its members is what moved us to continue attending. When we had our daughter, Scout, we knew Vine was the place to raise our family. Vine offers exactly what we want to instill in our child: compassion, community, and especially inclusivity. God is still speaking after all. Vine shares its love through its Sunday school ministry and the ever-fun activities and celebrations that children and youth are able to be involved in. Whether it be a song shared during worship service, the ever-popular Duck Derby, or even the dedication to include students in activities through Zoom during the pandemic, Vine demonstrates its love of children. Thad and I have been youth group leaders here at Vine, and the memories we made during some of our outings will stay with us for a long time. Seeing the love and joy of the group hanging out while riding the rides at Worlds and Oceans of Fun, or conquering their fear while ziplining at Mahoney State Park, makes us appreciate how Vine is able to provide an opportunity for fun and growth for so many of our youth. While this congregation may be smaller than some churches, the aspect of Vine being one family distinguishes it from other places. We are a community, a family, a neighborhood. Our members know each other. We support each other. My daughter can grow up in a church where she knows its members and know they will support her in her faith journey into adulthood. All of these are the reason why I give. I give because even when turmoil erupts and family members are hurt, Vine does its best to rectify wrongs, move forward, and continue to show love. I hope you will join me in pledging to our congregation this fall. With your support, our church shares God's love.
Good morning, church. It's good for us to be together. My name is Jim King. Rick, my husband, and I have been members of Vine Congregational UCC for just over 7 years. For the stewardship moment today, I'd like to share with you some thoughts on how Vine has changed our lives, my life, and how Vine has made a difference for us. Well, to go back a little bit, it took us quite a long time to find Vine. Rick and I both grew up in traditions that did not support us, who we are, or who we love. I had walked away from the tradition that I grew up in, and Rick was actually voted out of the tradition that he grew up with. But still, from the time that we were together 35 years ago, we knew that we wanted to grow our faith in community with others. So over the years, we dipped our toes in various churches, always looking for a church who we could love and who would accept and support us. And sometimes there were fairly disastrous results, either walking out in the middle of the service or being asked to leave. So it was quite a long period. So we were unchurched for several years, but still we always felt a need for us to be in community with others. When we first heard about Vine, we were curious and cautious, I have to say. We looked at the Vine website and we learned a little bit more about Vine. And we both felt a spark of hope. And we wondered, could this be a place, a home for us? So we decided to take one more chance. And I remember the first Sunday that we were here, Rick was pretty eager and I was pretty much holding back a little bit, saying, I don't know about this, but still, we came in. And I have to tell you, from the very first time that we were here, we really felt welcome. The United Church of Christ in Vine in particular always talks about exuberant welcome, and we truly felt that. We felt the exuberant welcome in Vine, and that really encouraged us and kind of got that spark of hope to grow. For several months, we continued to visit Vine, and Vine continued to welcome us, and Vine continued to invite us to participate in fellowship and various activities within the church. And we could see for ourselves how Vine actually lives the exuberant welcome of the UCC. And that's why we decided to become members of Vine. So now I'm talking about stewardship, and our stewardship theme this year is the three great loves: love of neighbor, love of children, and love of creation. And of course, recently, Anisha Brown spoke about love of creation, and Megan Hyman spoke about the love of children. And I was really honored when I was asked to share my thoughts on love of neighbor. And of course, we all know the greatest commandment. And we've had readings recently about how the formal church in Jesus' time tried to trap him and trick him and try to get him to say something so that they could take action against him. And of course, we all know the greatest commandment from Matthew chapter 24. Right before this particular verse, the Sadducees had tried to trip Jesus up, and that didn't work. So after Jesus silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together and they decided to plot and see what they could do. So one of them, who was a so-called expert in the law, tested him with a question: "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment of the law?" Well, Jesus, of course, replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind," being the first and greatest commandment. And then he said the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. Love the neighbor. I think we all know some of the visible ways that Vine shares the love of neighbor. All the volunteering in the community that we do, gathering donations for various charities and groups, and giving monetary support to those in need. Volunteer at People's City Mission. We have the Mitten Tree, the Sock It to the Homeless Day, the Day Without Shoes, the community-wide Easter egg hunt, and there's many ways that we visibly show love of neighbor. But one of the things that impressed Rick and I both is how Vine also shows love of neighbor in perhaps some less visible ways. As the first time that we came here, and what we've seen in our time being here, Vine greets the stranger as a neighbor. It's been some time since we've all been able to join together here in worship and have some stranger do this. But when we do, we welcome the stranger as a neighbor, the visitor as a neighbor, the searchers and the seekers who come to visit. We welcome the young in years and the young at heart. We also welcome people of faith who come from different religious traditions, people of faith who may speak differently of the holy than we do, but who also share the love of God. One of the things that Rick and I were really impressed at was just the wide variety of different traditions who have all made their way here and who all try to build community together and seek a deeper relationship with God. And that really made a very good impression on us. We also welcome a person who may express their gender or sexuality different than we may be as our neighbor. And Vine has made a difference. I know that since being here, I know that I have grown more compassionate. I am more aware of social justice issues. I'm more aware of environmental issues. I have become more tolerant and very much more aware of my neighbor. Vine has, being a member of Vine, has moved me closer to Rick and to God and to you and to my neighbor. And because of the overwhelming welcome and generosity that we received from all of you, we were eager to support Vine with a new offering. But once we formally joined Vine, we decided that we wanted to make a more formal commitment. That put a ring on it, right? So we want to make a more formal commitment. And we also understood that it's helpful for our leadership to have a guideline, an idea of what revenue will be over time in order to make wise budgeting decisions. So Rick and I made our stewardship pledges over the years, and we will be making our pledge to Vine again this year because we are so grateful for Vine, and we want Vine to continue to share God's commandment to love our neighbor. So I would hope that you will join Rick and I in pledging to our congregation this fall. With your support and our church, we can share God's love. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Good morning. When I was asked several weeks ago if I would give the final stewardship message in the month of October, my response was, due to my age, some health concerns, and approaching cold weather, I'd like to think about it. On the drive back to my apartment after the morning's worship service, I thought, how ironic. When asked to give a final call of commitment on a specific date, I was hesitating to commit. Obviously, I changed my decision by the time I reached home. For several years, in many areas of our culture, not just in religious groups, I've been witnessing a reluctance to commit. It's also been true in long-term service groups and even personal relationships. The reasons are probably many. Perhaps it is the unpredictability of the future, and certainly 2020 has been the supreme example of an unknown path ahead. Or perhaps it is remembering our parents' admonition that if you make a commitment, you must complete it. Or it may be a wish to be free to do what we want, when we want, without any encumbrance. Regardless of the causes, this is the time when each of us must make the decision to commit or not our time and our financial backing to Vine Church. Perhaps it is also a time when we need to be reminded of a few basic facts concerning that decision. Two quotes by Edmund Burke, who was a philosopher and statesman in the 1700s, seem especially fitting, remembering they were spoken in a very different culture. The first quote is, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." And for the past 3 Sundays, we've heard personal and very heartfelt expressions of the ways in which Vine Church has and continues to demonstrate good. The second quote is, "Nobody makes a greater mistake than he who does nothing because he could only do a little." Our church council has been working so diligently and creatively to function during this extremely difficult time for Vine Church. But as we all continue to face a very unknown future, council members need to have some indication of the level of commitment in the rest of the congregation, not only in our support and participation, but also in projected finances. They can make wise decisions only with the facts presented. But it's also important to remember that, like themselves, our future is not cast in stone. No one can foresee changes in health or financial status, which might necessitate changes in the declaration we make at this time. If there are unpredictable occurrences in our lives, Vine Church members should and would be among the first to understand that need. And so the bottom line Are we willing to state our intention to be part of the effort to keep Vine Church moving forward? And what is our best estimate at this time about what our monetary contribution might be? May we answer this call to commitment with prayerful and deliberate consideration.